Welcome to Talking Voiceovers, where we interview the South African industry's professionals to inspire each other and newcomers. Our guest today is Kristy Suttner, voice talent and voice agent at Talent Etc. Stay with us as we discuss studio etiquette, signing up with an agent, and the importance of having a fab demo. Welcome, Kristy. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I've been wanting to for ages, and I'm really enjoying the work that you guys are doing. It's so nice to have a bit of a community builder and see what other people are up to. Really, really interesting stuff. I just find it so useful to speak to other people in the industry because you often experience the same issues and problems or challenges, shall we say. And then it's so nice to hear of other people and then to be like, oh, okay, it's not just me. How did you deal with that? Like maybe there's a better solution.
Exactly. And with COVID, we can't all have a big group and get together and meet. So this is a good way of doing it.
Totally. Well, thank you for having me.
Tell us your story. How did you come to be a voice agent as well as a voice talent?
I'm a trained actor and singer and performer, many years ago. And going into the industry was immediately kind of drawn to voice work and immediately kind of booked a lot of voice work. So it was something that came very naturally and was organically part of my career from very early on, even though we didn't study that in my degree. Like that wasn't a thing in the year 2000 to do. We didn't have like a module on it or anything. We had a friend who had a studio and he like let us go in and play and stuff. I mean, it was very hit and miss, I think, at that moment. And yeah, so I've always done a lot of voice work, and actually sort of midway through my career, I would say probably in my early 30s, my agent, I was with at the time, a different agency, started actually sending me younger voice talent to help, because just having done it a lot of the younger guys coming through didn't really know what to do or how to do it. And a lot of it is around like protocol in the industry and like, what do you do when you get into a voiceover and how does it work and why are there so many people and who are they, where are they all from and what are they all doing there? And sort of trying to do a little bit of industry prep for the young like graduates as well. So I started coaching sort of on the side, and that kind of organically turned into some acting training. So I'm also an acting coach, and then I also do accents. So I train my students in different accents. I've got students in lots of different categories, which is I then kind of turned into like a bit of a side business to the many other businesses that I have. And then that was when I connected with Dennis at Talent ETC, and he asked me to come in and do an American accent workshop for some of their actors that were struggling with the accent. And that was how I met them. I actually didn't know the agency well at all. I have my own creative agency, so we had actually used them from the other side to cast. So I dealt with them in that context, but never sort of on their side. And I just really, from the minute I got there, I've really just felt like it's my home, and we've gotten on very well, and we're very like-minded, and I love the way Janice works, and I love the way the agency works. It's really very family orientated and just very, very awesome. When we went into lockdown, I decided I needed a change of agencies, and it just seemed like a really organic to move over to talent as an artist. So at that point, I wasn't a voice agent. And then they were sending me all of their new signups that wanted to sign up, but that weren't quite ready, were coming through me anyway to kind of groom. And I've got a really great friend who's got a studio now, and he gives me really good rates. My students go through there, they get to play in studio a bit, they get to record really good demos, high quality. We really like setting them up for success. Then, if we thought they were good enough, we would sign them. So I was kind of doing it without having an official title. And then in January this year, he was like, come, Chris, it's time. Like, let's just make this thing official. So now I'm representing voice talent at Talent ETC, as well as representing myself, I suppose. But I call Janice in for that if I need help with that, because it's not nice to represent yourself. And I do enough of that. So it's nice to have a team where I could say, Jen, please speak to this client, or please speak to this agency, because I don't want to have to negotiate my own rate or have a fight about whatever, which doesn't happen often, but if it does, it's nice to have that
as a backup. Yeah.
That's basically how it came about. It was very much not my plan. It's been a very sort of natural progression into it, and it's been fun so far.
What exactly does it mean to be an agent? Do you have to do the marketing for the talent?
I have a creative agency of my own, so I'm quite used to dealing with clients. But yes, you mentioned the marketing thing, I think, and that's something that we only just kind of starting with now, because I first needed to get our page on our website right, because I didn't feel like it was quite where it needed to be. And I had a very specific vision for it. So it's really looking cool now. I just think the demo is such an important thing as a voice artist, and we get it wrong so often. And so I've gotten a very specific pipeline of how I want the demos done, and a very, very specific like QC around it, and like making sure it's of a certain level. Because when I send it out to agencies and clients, I want to be proud and to be able to go, It's standardized, it's beautiful, it sounds great. Everybody who's on there, I know without a doubt will go in and nail that voice, and I can stand behind that 100%. And that's going to take some time. That's not something you're going to get right overnight, I don't think.
So the agency, talent, etc., is really a family with all the talent. You really look after them and send them for coaching, and you give them advice for their demos, as you were saying. It's not just a list of people that you send out randomly. You're really involved with the talent.
I don't want to be an agency with 300 voices. I want to be the boutique agency with 30 voices, or 50 maybe, that if you come to me, if I've got that demographic, the demographic that you're looking for, it's going to be good. It's not like a hit and miss, like, ooh, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Those 30 are top draw. I mean, some of our top artists aren't even on there yet, just purely because they don't have demos. So they've got hundreds of showcase clips that they've done. They've got millions of ads that they've recorded, but I want clean demos that are completely clear so that you can hear the voice. It doesn't have a million sound effects, doesn't have people walking in the background. It doesn't have, whatever jingles laid over. It needs to be just the voice so we can hear what we're dealing with. Particularly when you start getting into more specific languages and some of the vernac languages and stuff, you need to have that so that it's not too specific to whatever that advertising agency was trying to do at that time. We want to hear what is the voice in its rawest form. And then from there, that you like a little lump of clay that needs to be molded into whatever that client or agency wants you to do, So that's what I always say to them is you need to be like an actor, you need to be ready to change. There's a reason why we don't get scripts before we go in for a booking. They don't want you to go and learn this thing in your head in the way you think it should be. And then tomorrow, actually, the director's got a completely different idea of what he wants or she wants, It is so stressful, that first voiceover that you book, and you have no idea what you're doing. And you don't know who you're talking to, and you don't know who you're supposed to be taking direction from. And sometimes I've been in voices with up to 15 people sitting in that outside, who are all giving their 2 cents worth, and you have no idea. You have no idea who you're meant to be listening to. And there's such a big psychological component of being in the booth and going, that these people want you to get this right as quickly as possible, but you also want it to be as good as possible. So it's trying to get that balance right and preparing my artists so that they are ready to do that, because nobody told me that. I can tell you that's for sure. I was completely lost in my first booking, completely. I had no idea what was going on. And you just kind of bumble it around until you figure it out, And each one is obviously better than the one before, but it would be much nicer to go in feeling a bit more prepared, I think.
So that's why you coach them, so they know what to do.
100%, and they know what to expect.
And are all the talent that you have signed up for voice already signed up as actors at talent, etc.?
No, so a lot of them are, but just because you're an actor doesn't mean you're a voice artist. So it's 2 different skills. So that's also something we need to figure out between us, as when I work one-on-one with the person. We do have a lot of people who want to sign up. My inbox of new sign-up emails I'm never on top of it. It's always on top of me. It's just so many people who are aspiring, and then some of them are amazing, and then some of them really just have done nothing and have no idea. So, it's just about trying to help every single person and treat everybody equally, but at the same time also get my job done, which is to get bookings, because otherwise nobody's getting paid, Like you said earlier, the kind of coach versus agent thing, it's 2 really different roles that I'm changing hats a lot. And then obviously being an artist myself, that's really what I love doing, is the actual work. So it is a bit of a juggle, but we that's how we roll as artists. We've got to wear different hats every day.
If you're enjoying this interview, give us a thumbs up. So what do you do when you get emails from aspiring artists? Do you listen to their demo? Do you have time?
I try and do a few at least per week, because otherwise I just will it all, and also there might just be this real gem in there that you miss. But a lot of them don't even have demos. So a lot of them, we're not even there. So if they're with us already and I know that they can act, then I'll send them some scripts, and then I'll say, just do something on your phone for me. Just WhatsApp voice note, just so that I can hear more or less where we're at. Do we have any sort of idea of delivery style? Where's our accent sitting? What languages are we dealing with? Just the different kind of categories. And then if I can see that it's going to be a quick process, then I'll get them into the pipeline for studio. If I see that we're going to need a bit more work, then they go into proper coaching, which can be 4 classes or 8 classes or 12 or whatever. It's really dependent on the person. But like I say, if they are signed with us, then generally they get a bit of preference, obviously, because then I know they're really familiar with the industry. I'm not doing a whole start from scratch kind of thing. We do get a lot of cold calls just off the internet, just people going, I want to be a voice artist, not really knowing what that means,
So what do you do? Do you send them to coaches or do you propose yourself as a coach?
To be honest, the majority that get told that they would need coaching don't come back. So then that's kind of a way of what's the
Filtering.
word? Natural attrition. Yes, yeah. When you it just kind of works out like that. And then so then I coach ours, but you don't have to come to me. It's not a prerequisite. And a lot of the guys that are experienced didn't come to me at all. They just did their own thing. If they've got home studios, they recorded home, as long as the quality's good. Because we did struggle with some of the home setups are not great, even my own. I mean, mine's in my cupboard, literally. So yours looks much more fancy than mine. I actually should have set mine up for you. It's very fancy with my blankets and my pillows and my coats and stuff. And then you know what the most challenging part is, to push a cord once you've like got your perfect like mic position, and then you realize that your record is outside of the blanket. You've got to like do a backflip backwards to get to push go. So hence I've learned how to edit, so I can just push a cord and then deal with it later. So all skills I didn't have before lockdown. So
So you only started your home setup with lockdown.
yeah. So we had at our offices, for our own agency now, we had a little home. I mean, it wasn't a very professional one, but it was one that we would use for our own work. So I was very spoiled. I always used to just go there, or I'd go to a friend, or and you just realize how as a voice artist you're so spoiled. Like you walk in, you get your glass of water, they make sure the mic levels are right for you, put on your cans, and off you go. Now it's like literally like bruising myself trying to rig things from the top of my cupboard to try and make sure that it's soundproof. But yeah, so I was lucky enough to get a really nice mic just before lockdown, just from our company. And my brother's a really good sort of technical person, and he does voice work as well. He's also on our books, and he just kind of gave me a little remote coaching session on how to do it. And yeah, I learned how to edit just on GarageBand, and I also learned how to edit on iMovie. I'm now editing like little videos for clients and stuff. So yeah, it was all these little things that you learn that you never thought you'd do. But I'm really glad that I have those skills now. So that's cool.
What mic do you have?
I have a Rode.
Rode, which one?
I don't know actually.
Is it a USB or have you got a preamp to go with it?
No, I've got a preamp. Avid, the little mixer. Yeah.
Cool. So that's quite a nice setup.
I'm very fortunate. Yeah, and I've got a nice stand with a little condenser. And so yeah, it actually sounds pretty good. I mean, besides like the crickets and the like whatever else you're picking up from outside, it's the quality of it itself is really not bad. I had to do some stuff for a studio that I work for often, and he was like, please. So I was like, okay, we're gonna try and do. And luckily, it was for a bed brand, and it was all about sleeping well. So there's crickets going. So I said to him, well, at least it kind of goes with the theme. He's like, we'll see what we can do. So that was the only challenge we had. Quality wise, it was actually not terrible.
So what kind of work do you do from your home setup? Can you get broadcast quality for TV and radio, or is it more like e-learning and audiobooks?
Yeah, I wouldn't oversell it to that point. I mean, I think, look, I mean, the stuff I was doing for them is, I'm sure, sounded amazing by the time they were done with it, but I'm not editing that. I'm like literally just clipping it, trimming it, and sending it there. We'll do the breaths and all of that. And they're doing all the post on it. I'm literally sending my voice, and they're amazing. So I'm sure they made it sound fab, and I'm sure that could definitely become broadcast quality. But preferably, I mean, God forbid we go into another hard lockdown. That would be the only reason I would try and do that. I think, I'm lucky enough, like I say, to have access to enough studios and friends who would rather do a much better job than me in that section. I know I can go and nail the voice. It's all the post and making it, jazzing it up. It's not really. I mean, I can do it to an extent, but it's not.
Sure. What type of voiceover work do you do?
So, I mean, it's a conversation I have with my artists all the time, is kind of discovering your brand as a voice artist. I think as actors, we very aware that we have a brand and we have a look and we have things that we suit, and our face looks a certain way. So we're going to get cast for certain things. And in exactly the same way as voice actors, we have brands and we have a sound that I believe you get pulled towards, or clients are drawn to. So I have a very low voice, and I get into the soft sell stuff very easily, and into the sort of like sexy / intimate kind of sound a lot. I get that sort of booking a lot. I think I get the ones to make people feel calm and relaxed, that kind of thing. Lots of insurance, lots of beds for days, beds and furniture. I'm very lucky to have my furniture clients. I'm so grateful for them, because it's lots of work and it's frequent, so I do a lot of like in-store stuff for them, and like internet website stuff. So maybe not quite e-learning, but it's a similar kind of idea, where they would have almost manuals of stuff for their staff to watch, I just suppose is e-learning. Yeah, training, exactly. So lots of that type of thing. And then I have my regular clients that have kind of stuck with me for many, many years, which I'm really grateful for, which is a lot in the sort of insurance, more corporate sound as well. And then I love to do accents and characters and that kind of thing. But it just, I've found personally, I haven't gotten a lot of that kind of work. I don't find as an agent that I haven't gotten one brief so far. I mean, I've only been around for a couple of months, so maybe they're still coming. But the briefs I've gotten are all more advertising. They're not like cool animated. I mean, all my actors want to do animation, including myself. We all want to do like cool, fun voices, and there just hasn't been a lot of opportunity for that yet. But maybe it will change. The industry is always evolving. So
once you've signed up talent, do you expect them to still do their own marketing, or do you provide them with all the work that they need?
I mean, we've got a wide range, like I was saying. So like some of the artists that are on my site are brand new, like the one is, I think, 22, like very, very, very new talent, which is extremely exciting. And she's very good, like that particular person I'm thinking of. I know she's not going to go and market herself. You know what I mean? Like I think you get different types of artists. Then I have somebody like Nadia Bierkus, who is like an OG, like voice artist of South Africa. Like she has done more work than you could even imagine. She's done every brand you could think of. She's like TV all the time. So she markets herself just by being her. Like she just is amazing. And she's the loveliest person and she's a joy to work with. And she's just fantastic in every sense. So like somebody like that, she is the marketing because she is who she is and she's a recognized name. I mean, I'm sure her Instagram following is enormous. So, and then there are a couple who are maybe mid-20s to mid-30s who are like quite driven and who are kind of, a lot of them work, who I'm now talking about the ones that aren't actors. They're like working in digital marketing or in sort of media spaces, who will phone and say they're actually looking for voices and it might not be right for them. But, so they help by bringing work in that way, which is really cool, which is why I like to have the community part of it. Because what happens with us working together in studio is that we actually meet, first of all. I know what they look like. We actually get a relationship going, especially if they come for coaching. Then I mean, I'm friends with all of my students. From there, they'll remember, oh yeah, Kristy's got great artists. So let me push the work that way. So I think it's also about the relationships that you're building as you go along the way. For me, that's a very big part of it because I like working with people I like. It's just the way it is. If I know that I like Gail and I know Gail is going to give me like an amazing job, why not go for it,
As an agent for your talent, would the client be the bed company or the car company, or would they be producers and directors, actual media people?
So both. I mean, I think in my experience, it's primarily been agency-based work. So it's working through an advertising agency that would then have a producer and a director, and then they would then engage with the studio who they like, or sometimes they have in-house studios that you would work with. Every part of the puzzle is important, and it's something that I cover in what we were speaking about earlier. The industry prep stuff is like going, okay, in the room, you will probably have a sound technician from a studio who is a separate entity to your advertising agency most times, although sometimes in-house. And then from your advertising agency, you're probably going to have a director, possibly a copywriter, possibly a number of other people who are there for whatever reason. And then you're most probably also going to have someone from client. And, it's an interesting dynamic when you're in a voiceover because we understand that the agency is the artist. I mean, so it's the director, that's the boss, right? So I as an artist, need to take direction from the director, one would hope. But then the director is being paid by the agency and the agency is being paid by the client. So the client at the end of the day is the boss. So we need to also remember that if the client and the agency decide to get into a little disagreement about how something should be done, your client is really who at the end of the day has got to be happy. So it is a bit of and this is part of the dynamics that I try and explain, especially to the younger guys, is like you need to figure out very quickly who these people are in the room, because nobody in my entire experience, even today, if I walk into a new client, they do not introduce you. I don't know why. It's just the thing. They don't go, this is so-and-so from the advertising agency, or this is your director, or this is the client. You just have to figure it out. So you just kind of going, okay. And then it is a complicated dynamic. As an artist, you're going in there to do one job and you've got to do that job. But in order to do it, you need certain things. So that's kind of what I always chat to my guys about, is like, figure out who it is quickly so that you can know who you're speaking to and you know who you need to be listening to get the delivery to where they need it to be. Because sometimes people have a very specific idea and sometimes it's quite difficult to get to what it is that they're asking of you.
Can you walk in there and say, hi, I'm Gail, and you are? Or would they find that rude?
I mean, you totally could. You totally could. And I always think it's just that fine line of kind of going, there's a bit of a pecking order, and like you want to do it in the right way. But yeah, I mean, you definitely could. I don't see why not. Just the other day I walked into one and I was like, the guy didn't introduce himself. We walked all the way up to the studio together. And then while I was sitting there, somebody spoke to him and I was like, oh, is that him? I've been speaking to him all along. And then I was like, oh, it's you. Okay. Because they obviously know who you are. It's just you don't know who they are.
You don't know which of all the CCs is, you're talking to, sure.
So yeah. And it's great. It's a beautiful place to be. Like, I love being in the booth. It's a beautiful place to be because it's so highly creative and you've got all these brilliant creative minds around you, you know. But with creative minds come disagreement because you're not all going to agree on what the best way of doing something is. So I mean, it's often happened to me. You sit there and while they have an argument and then go, okay, cool. Whose opinion do I take now?
So give us a little bit of studio etiquette. What should a voice talent do and not do in the booth?
The thing with South African artists in general is that we are all jacks of all trades, or Janes of all trades. We all do many, many, many things. And many of us are copywriters. Many of us are directors. Many of us are actors. Many of us have way too much knowledge than what you need to go and do a voiceover. For me, as a younger artist, I would go in and like sometimes you'll see like a grammatical error or like there'll be something that you think really doesn't sound great. Like, keep your mouth shut. That would be my first piece of advice. It's like you're there to do a job. And I get it because I've been on the other side as well. You don't really want somebody else's advice. Like, it's gone through however many approvals to get to the point where it's been signed off and you're in studio. So you don't need some 25-year-old telling you like what they think your grammar should be. It's like, it's not your place. And for me, I'm a big collaborator personally as a human being. I love to collaborate. And I always feel like collaboration makes things better. And if it was me directing, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all. But there are many directors who do not appreciate that. Be flexible to doing it different ways, because I think a lot of times we go in with an idea of what we think it is. Or it might be a client that you've done before and then they suddenly want something completely different. Like, I used to do a monthly spot for a client, and like every month it would be different. Like, they'd be like, okay, it's quite hard silly this month, and the next month it would be super smooth and luxurious, and then the next month it would be kind of upbeat, contemporary, and like friendly, you know. So be flexible and be willing to do something different, even though you might have an idea of what you think it is, you know. And I've also had like, I've done some master classes with some of our artists, and like I had an actor once say to me, yeah, but you're saying, you know, we mustn't give our input or our 2 cents worth, but then that means we're not bringing our A game as actors, you know. And I was like, no, that's not what I mean at all. You bring your A game, you do your best every time, of course, but a voiceover is a very small box that you're working in. You're not on stage. You're not creating a whole character on a soap opera. You're not doing that. You're doing a 30-second spot most of the time, you know. So remember the perspective. As much as, yes, it's got to be the best freaking 30-second spot that they've ever done, but that has 4 walls. It's only that. So don't overthink it. Like, don't get in your head about it as an actor. Because, you know, as artists, we like to get a bit dramatic about these things. So, but that doesn't mean you don't go and nail it. You nail it. You get it right. You do the best you can, and you bring every part of you as an actor to make it great. But it's almost a bit of like, stay in your lane, like do what you're there to do. Yeah, and listen. I think listen, take direction, listen to what they're saying. Don't go in with your view and your view only. As much as you want to collaborate and make it great, listen, because often they'll be quite clear, this is what I want. And if you can do that quite quickly, then everyone's happy, because advertising is time is money. So you're working in advertising when you do a voiceover. You're not working in theater, and you're not working in film or TV. You're working in advertising, and they're wanting you to do something, and they want it quickly. So the quicker you can nail it, the better. And I'm talking now about commercials. Obviously, if you're going to do an audiobook, or if you're going to do even like an e-learning that's very long, like I did one the other day that was like, it was like a tome. Just honestly, this big thick thing, that's different. Then I'm not saying like rush through it and compromise your work. Obviously, then they're going to understand you in studio for 2 hours or whatever. It's different. But when you're doing a 30-second spot, you generally expect it to get in and out of there in 20 minutes. Like, they're not really wanting you to hang around and, you know, get an Emmy. Like, that's not what you're there for.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it might be contentious and people might not agree, but that's been my experience as an artist, and that's what's helped me in coaching others. And I've had students before I was an agent come back to me and say, Because, by the way, anyone can come to me as a coach. You don't have to be with Talent ETC, and you don't have to want to be with Talent ETC. My coaching part is independent, and I have many, many artists who are not with Talent ETC who have come through me as a coach. And I like they'll phone me after or send me a voice note after a gig and be like, oh, my word, it happened exactly how you said. There was like this person couldn't get this right, and then the director got so cross, and then it changed this whole thing. And then they're like, thank you for telling me that, because at least I had that knowledge going in and I didn't take it personally or think I'd done something wrong, because there's a lot going on for such a small product. At the end of the day, you're getting a 30-second spot, possibly of only audio, that comes from this massive like debacle of people in a room to make something happen, which is it's a weird industry, but very cool.
It's like a film, I suppose. It's got thousands of people involved in the whole team. So even if it's only an hour and a half of film, but this is a miniature version of a film.
Absolutely, like it's exactly the same. No, it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. And also what you experience versus what you see or hear at the end product is two completely different things. Often it's like, oh, okay, we went with that take. I didn't think that sounded so cool, or half of it's cut or whatever. Like there's millions of different things that can happen in post-production, and that a lot of time have nothing to do with you, like that have got to do with client and what they wanted and what whoever's had some opinion at the last minute. I mean, like we've all sat there while they quickly phone and say like, do you want it to be 100 or 100? Like sometimes they get as pedantic as that, but then other times it's like you go in and out and it's like they barely even knew you were there and you just did whatever you felt like. So it's all very much dependent on the clients and the personalities that are involved.
Do you still get nervous before you go in for a voiceover session?
Definitely. And I mean, we work in an industry that is nerve-wracking. So it's whether you're doing that or you're shooting something for, you're shooting a casting tape or you're shooting on set for a soapy or whatever you're doing, there's always going to be those. I believe that nervousness is important though. Like you do need to have that nervous energy for me anyway.
A lot of people that I've spoken to do say that they get nervous before,
I'm theatre trained, so if I walk onto stage without those nerves, they hit me when I get on stage, and then you've got a problem because then you've got to try and perform while you're feeling them. It's better to have them before the time, and then you walk on with that like adrenaline rather than too relaxed, and then you get like, oh gosh, I'm on stage. So I like the pre-stage kind of jitters. It kind of gives you that drive to make it better,
It's an adrenaline rush. It's like an extreme sport.
Yes, no, it totally is.
Where can people reach you if they'd like to sign up for one of your courses or to sign up to Talent ETC?
So best is to just drop me a mail. My email address is voice@talent-etc.co.za. Yeah, and then we take it from there. It's a fun process and I'm really enjoying getting to know all those amazing voice artists out there. And like I say, you just never know when like the next big voice star is coming along because everybody started somewhere. So like that's the exciting part for me. I love hearing a new voice and being like, oh, wow, listen to that, So that's always the fun part.
Thanks a lot, Kristy. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Such a pleasure. And we will chat again soon.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks, Gail. Okay,
cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for watching Talking Voiceovers. If you haven't already done so, subscribe and hit that bell button to make sure you don't miss any of the following episodes.